Greetings, friends. Welcome to today's devotion. It is Psalm 108. This time it's short enough to read. My heart is steadfast, O God. My heart is steadfast. I will sing and make melody. Awake, my soul. Awake, O harp and lyre. I will awake the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the peoples. And I will sing praises to you among the nations. For your steadfast love is higher than the heavens, and your faithfulness reaches to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens, and let your glory be over all the earth. Give victory with your right hand and answer me, so that those whom you love may be rescued. God has promised in his sanctuary, with exultation I will divide up Shechem and portion out the vale of Succoth. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim is my helmet, Judah is my scepter, Moab is my wash basin. On Edom I hurl my shoe. Over Philistia I shout in triumph. Who will bring me to the fortified city? Who will lead me to Edom? Have you not rejected us, O God? You do not go out, O God, with our armies. O grant us help against the foe, for human help is worthless. With God we shall do valiantly. It is he who will tread down our foes. So this is a psalm that's attributed to David, and it seems to have something to do with military victories over some of these nations that are mentioned, like Edom and Philistia. And it does seem, as we get to verse 11, that God seems to have rejected the people in their battle against their foreign enemies. But I don't want to get into the whole detail of the Old Testament. I've done that in the past. But God commanded the armies of Israel to go out and fight, and when he did, they were victorious. And when he did not, and the people decided on their own, trusting in their own wisdom, trusting in their own desires, going with their egos and their desires for triumph, and God did not send them, then they were soundly defeated in those battles. We face, obviously, different circumstances in our world. Life was so different thousands of years ago for the people of Israel as they were the conquest of Canaan was what was being described here. We don't face military foes on a regular basis. We are not trying to conquer a particular land. We have a different foe. We have different foes. We have different enemies. But our greatest foe and our greatest enemy is sin. I mean, that's really the truth about what our greatest battle is against sin, our corruption, our brokenness, and then the action that comes from that, the sin that, the actions that come from the brokenness of our sin. Those are the things that we battle the most because of sin and because of our actions, not really our actions, but the source of what brings about those actions, the nature of us being sinners, is a foe we cannot conquer. It is a foe and an enemy that we cannot battle and win ever. There's nothing we can do to ever change that, and the consequences of it with a holy God are always going to be judgment and going to be eternal separation from God, something that is unimaginable for us. But thanks be to God, we have Jesus who has taken care of our greatest enemy, our greatest foe. God did it all for us because we couldn't do it on our own. We couldn't even add anything to it. Nothing we could add to it to overcome or to enhance the sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross. It was total, it was complete, it was perfect, and it took care of our greatest enemy and our greatest foe. Human help is worthless, like the psalmist writes in verse 10. And that is true with sin and everything else that I've just already talked about. Reminders of God's steadfastness and his love. If God is willing to and did put his life on the line for our sake so that we could have eternal life with him, can we not trust God with other things in our lives? Can we not trust him to do what is needed, what we desire, in as much as it's in accord with his will? Can we not trust him to do that as well? Too often we trust in ourselves. Too often we trust in other people to deal with issues and problems that we're having, to lead us and guide us into decisions we make about work, about our families, about relationships. That we depend on our own wisdom and our own human understanding and sometimes the advice of other people. But how often do we go to God? How often do we ask Him to help guide us? How often do we ask for His wisdom? How often do we ask for His knowledge in a particular situation in a way that is going to bring glory to Him, that is in accordance with His will? Probably not as often as we should. Because of God's steadfastness and faithfulness, we can do that anytime, at all times. Whenever we are struggling with anything, whether it is a personal problem, health issues, God is always there to provide for us because of His steadfast and faithful nature. Again, we trust Him with the biggest thing, with the biggest challenge, with our biggest enemy and our greatest foe. But sometimes maybe we just don't think He's can be bothered or should be bothered, or oftentimes we just think we can deal with it ourselves with the help of other people. It's not bad to have advice. It's not bad to have counsel from other people, but always as a priority, we should be seeking God's counsel and wisdom in all situations that trouble us. That's our devotion for today. Tomorrow, Psalm 109. Until then, be blessed.